Try smiling more when customers walk in, Dad mocked loudly, wiping his hands on his apron. Mom laughed from the counter. No wonder we barely make profit. Her face alone could scare off half the town. The regulars chuckled. I swallowed hard, pretending the coffee machine steam was the reason my eyes burned. Hi everyone. My name is Lila Hart, I'm 29. And for 5 years I poured my soul into our little family cafe. Every menu item, every brick, every late-night recipe test, all mine. But in my family, love is measured in obedience, not effort. Do you ever realize too late that your family doesn't see you as one of them but as free labor? That day I noticed it, the subtle shift. My brother Eric strutted in with his fiancée, Paige, wearing a designer coat I couldn't afford even after months of double shifts. Dad's eyes softened at her like she was the missing piece our cafe had needed all along. Lila, he said, Paige's got business sense. She'll help run things now, you can take a break. I laughed softly. A break? From the cafe I built. Mom shot me that look, the silent don't embarrass us here glare. By closing time, I'd been handed a folded piece of paper, a termination letter signed by my own father. Paige smiled, resting manicured fingers on Dad's shoulder. Don't take it personally, Lila. We just want to modernize things. The smell of espresso, once comforting, suddenly made me nauseous. Outside, the night air was cold, sharp. The cafe heart neon flickered behind me, half of the letters dimmed. I stood there holding that paper, realizing it wasn't just a job they'd taken. It was my identity. I remember whispering to myself, you taught me how to build something from nothing. Now watch what I do with that lesson. A bus passed, splashing muddy water over my shoes. It felt poetic somehow. Inside the glass door they laughed around my counter, my recipes, my walls. But they didn't see me outside, already picturing the moment their perfect plans would collapse. And it would all begin with one cancelled reservation. The next morning I woke up before sunrise. Muscle memory from years of opening the cafe alone. Except now my keys didn't matter anymore. They'd changed the locks overnight. Through the window I watched Paige arranging pastries I'd taught her to bake. Dad handed her the clipboard, my clipboard, while Eric carried in floral centerpieces for the rebrand. The sign above the door now read Café Heart and Future. I almost laughed. Future, huh? Mom waved me away when she saw me. Don't make a scene, Lila. Let your brother's fiancé help your father. You've done enough. Her voice held that tone, the one that always made me feel like a child even when I was paying their rent last year. I walked home with empty hands but a head full of noise. Every invoice, supplier contact and booking confirmation still ran through my email, because I'd built everything myself. The weekend after next was booked solid, mostly for one event, Eric and Paige's wedding brunch. At our cafe. That irony brewed like bitter coffee in my chest. I spent that night scrolling through the guest list, the vendor contracts, the catering orders, all under my digital signature. They hadn't even bothered to transfer ownership. By morning the decision felt less like revenge and more like symmetry. They took what I built, so I'd simply take back what was mine to cancel. With one click I revoked payments on the floral supplier. Another, and the wedding brunch reservation vanished from the system. Then the cake order, the linen rental, the live musician deposit. I could almost hear Paige's voice in my head. We just want to modernize things. I smiled. Let's see how modern your chaos gets. When I closed my laptop I felt calm. Too calm. Because I knew the next morning would taste nothing like coffee. It would taste like shock. By noon my phone started buzzing. First a message from Eric. Hey, did you mess with the cafe bookings? The system's acting weird. Then from Dad. Lila. Call me. Now. I didn't. I just sat by the window sipping the same cheap coffee they used to mock, watching the morning light creep across my kitchen counter. For the first time in years the quiet didn't scare me. Around 2 Paige's name flashed on my screen. You need to fix this. The vendors are saying you cancelled. We have guests flying in. I replied with one line. Guess the system finally decided to take a break too. 30 seconds later she called again, this time sobbing, her perfect voice cracking. I listened in silence. The chaos I'd imagined had arrived right on schedule. Through the cafe window that evening I saw Dad pacing, waving papers, arguing with suppliers. Eric was on the phone, red-faced, while Paige sat at the counter crying into her hands. The same counter where I'd spent years counting tips and dreaming of expansion. Mom caught sight of me outside. Her expression softened, almost regretful, but she didn't step out. I didn't need her pity, not anymore. That night, a message pinged from the cafe group chat Dad once kicked me out of. "Lila, we can't host the brunch now. Everything's collapsing. Can you help us fix it before Saturday?" I stared at the screen, my reflection faint in the black glass. Tired eyes, steady hands. For years they'd treated me like background noise. Now they were finally hearing my silence. I typed back. "You fired the manager, remember? Ask the new one." Then I turned off my phone. Outside, the neon sign flickered again, but this time the heart part went dark completely. It felt fitting. The next morning I showed up early to the farmer's market, right across from our cafe. It was strange being on the other side, the observer instead of the engine. From the stall's reflection I saw Dad's face, pale and furious, talking to a city official. Paige stood beside him, clutching a clipboard, pretending to hold it together. Turns out, canceling those reservations had created a domino effect. Without those confirmed events, the cafe's special event license automatically froze. Health inspection got delayed. Suppliers pulled out. Refunds were demanded. Every system they ignored when they pushed me out was now pushing back. Eric spotted me through the window and stormed out. "Why would you do this, Lila? We're family." "Family," I repeated softly. "When you replaced me, did you remember that word?" He didn't answer. He just stood there, jaw tightening, knowing I had a point. Behind him, Paige was arguing on the phone, probably with the wedding planner. Dad rubbed his temples, muttering, "We'll fix it. We always fix it." But for once he sounded unsure. I should have felt triumphant. Instead I felt something quieter, a strange calm, like the moment before a storm passes. Because I wasn't done. Revenge wasn't about watching them fail. It was about watching them finally see what I'd carried for years. That evening I sat at my old desk, reopened the cafe's email, and saw a flood of messages. Suppliers, local bloggers, even loyal customers asking what happened. Paige had posted a tone-deaf, "We're rebranding for better service" post, and people were furious. Comments poured in. "Where's Lila? She built that place." Cafe heart died when she left. I read every line slowly, letting the warmth of validation sink in. They had taken my name off the door, but not out of people's hearts. I leaned back and whispered, almost to myself, "They wanted a future without me. Now they can live in it." 2 days later I walked past the cafe again, not out of nostalgia but curiosity. The windows that once gleamed were streaked with fingerprints. The smell of burnt espresso hung in the air. Inside, Paige fumbled behind the counter while a line of frustrated customers muttered under their breath. Dad was barking orders. The grinders jammed again. "Where's the order sheet?" Eric tried to help, but he didn't even know where the cups were kept. It was chaos. A living, breathing example of what happens when people mistake ownership for understanding. I stayed outside, blending into the crowd, listening to the fragments of complaints. "She charged me twice. They changed the menu again? Where's Lila? The coffee used to taste better." The ache in my chest wasn't anger anymore. It was release. That night, Paige posted a desperate story on social media. "Please be patient with us as we rebuild. Cafe Heart and Future is still your favorite local spot." But the comments section had turned into an online funeral. Customers demanded refunds, old suppliers exposed unpaid invoices, and one influencer even tagged me. "Bring back the real creator. Hashtag Lila built this." Dad finally called me again. His voice was cracked, not from rage this time but defeat. "Lila," he said quietly, "we could use your help. Just until things settle." I didn't say anything. I let the silence stretch long enough for him to hear what it felt like to be ignored. Then I whispered, "You already replaced me, remember? Let her fix it." He sighed. "You're still my daughter." I replied softly, "And that cafe was still my home." "You sold both." When the call ended I sat there in the dark, the city's hum outside my window. For years I'd begged them to see my worth. Now they finally did, through the cracks of everything they destroyed. And deep down I knew, their fall wasn't over yet. By the next weekend the grand reopening brunch turned into a public disaster. The florist never showed. The power flickered twice before noon. And a video of Paige screaming at a supplier in the parking lot had already gone viral in town Facebook groups. I didn't have to lift a finger anymore. The universe had joined in. That morning I was at a small art cafe across town, the one that had always inspired me when I was young. The owner, a kind older woman named May, recognized me instantly. "You're Lila Hart, right? The girl who built Café Hart. Everyone's talking about what happened." I nodded quietly, expecting judgment, but instead she smiled. "You're welcome to use my back kitchen if you ever want to start again." Her words struck deeper than she knew. I'd been so focused on tearing down what they stole from me, I'd forgotten the part of me that still wanted to create. Later that day, curiosity dragged me back near the cafe once more. There it was, the dream cafe my dad had trusted Paige to run, with "temporarily closed" taped to the door. Inside, I saw Dad arguing with a landlord. Eric stood silently beside him, his shoulders slumped. Paige was nowhere in sight. I overheard fragments. "We can't cover the rent. The wedding cancellation set us back months. Vendors are suing for breach of contract." It was poetic, not just karma but clarity. They'd built a kingdom on the foundation I laid, then kicked out the architect. I walked away slowly, the cool breeze brushing my face, and texted May. "About that offer. Is your kitchen still open?" She replied with a heart emoji and, "Always." For the first time in months, my chest didn't feel heavy. It felt ready. Because sometimes revenge isn't about burning the past, it's about building something brighter right next to its ashes. The following month, the new cafe opened under a soft blue awning that read Hearthlight. It was small, warm, and quiet, the kind of place that smelled like vanilla and hope. I didn't announce anything online. No grand openings. No family invites. Just the hum of espresso and the sound of people finding comfort again. Within a week, familiar faces began showing up. Old customers who once called me the heart of Café Hart. They smiled when they saw me behind the counter. "Finally," one woman said, sipping her latte, "coffee that tastes like love again." Word spread fast. A local blogger posted a photo captioned, "When family throws you out of your dream, build a better one." Hearthlight by Lila Hart, easily the best new cafe in town. Meanwhile, across the street, Café Hart and Future had become a ghost. Its once busy doorway was boarded up. The neon sign flickered hee-haw-tee, like it couldn't decide whether to die or hold on. One afternoon I saw Dad standing outside my cafe window. He didn't come in, just watched quietly as I served a line of customers that stretched out the door. When our eyes met, his expression wasn't angry anymore. It was something heavier, regret. He finally stepped inside, slow and uncertain. "I wanted to see what you made," he said. "It's beautiful, Lila." I nodded, keeping my tone even. "Thanks. It's built with lessons I learned from you." He hesitated. "Maybe we could work together again someday?" I smiled politely. "Maybe. But this time it'll be my name on the sign." He nodded, almost proud, almost ashamed, and walked out. Through the glass, I watched him pause at the crosswalk, staring between the two cafes. The one that died from greed and the one reborn from grace. For the first time, I didn't feel anger anymore. Just peace. Because some endings don't need closure, they just need to stand side by side. 2 months later, the city's Best Cafe of the Year awards were announced. I didn't attend. I was too busy wiping down tables, refilling sugar jars, humming to the faint tune playing from the old speaker. But when my phone buzzed with a message from May, I froze. "You won, Lila. Hearthlight took first place." I stared at the text for a long moment, the hum of the espresso machine soft behind me. My eyes blurred, not from pride but from the quiet relief that finally I had something no one could take. That evening I locked the door, flipped the open sign to closed, and stepped outside. Across the street, Café Hart stood in silence. A hollow building with papered windows and an "available for lease" sign crookedly taped to the glass. The wind rattled the empty frames where laughter used to echo. I didn't hate them anymore. I didn't wish them ruin. They had already created that themselves. Dad had retired early, Eric moved to another city, and Paige disappeared from every social feed she once dominated. All of them chasing something shiny that never lasted. I, on the other hand, found something simple. Peace. The smell of roasted beans. The gentle hum of strangers finding comfort in a place born from pain but rebuilt with love. Before leaving, I crossed the street one last time and pressed my old cafe key, the one Dad never took back, into the doorframe crack. A quiet goodbye. I whispered, you took my name off your wall, but I carved my soul into this town. Then I walked away, the evening sun hitting the gold letters of my new sign. Hearthlight. It glowed softly like forgiveness itself. Because in the end, revenge wasn't destroying what they had. It was proving what I could build without them. And with that thought, I smiled, unlocked my car and drove toward the horizon, where my peace finally began.